Jerusalem, the center of three major religions. The last days of Jesus, the crucifixion, and the resurrection form the core of Christianity. The story plays out here in Jerusalem, in and around the Holy Sepulcher.
Nou, een van de gaafste gebouwen ter wereld eigenlijk is de Heilige Grafkerk, of ook wel de Holy Sepulcher. In één gebouw dat ontzettend veel indruk kan maken, maar dat ook eigenlijk een hele grote rommel is. Deze kerk wordt gerund door 6 verschillende christelijke stromingen. Dat zijn de katholieken, de Grieken, de Armeniërs, de Syriërs, de Egyptische Kopten en de Ethiopiërs.
These groups can't always get along with each other, leading to unusual situations which make the Holy Sepulcher fascinating. But let's begin at the beginning. The Bible tells us that after Jesus was sentenced to death by Pilate at the Roman fortress, he began his final journey, the Via Dolorosa.
De Via Dolorosa is de laatste route die Jezus liep met het kruis op zijn nek richting Calvary, waar hij dan gekruisigd werd. Het is een route met allemaal staties, zoals de plek waar hij het kruis op zijn nek kreeg, de plek waar hij viel, de plek waar hij zijn moeder voor het laatst zag, de plek waar iemand met een doek over zijn gezicht wreef. Dat vind je allemaal langs deze route. En dit is dan de route naar de grafkerk.
According to archaeologists, the location of the trial, and therefore the beginning of the journey, is unknown. Over the centuries, various routes emerged in the old city of Jerusalem. What is currently known as the Via Dolorosa was identified by European pilgrims in the 18th century. For many Christians today, walking this route makes a lasting impression. The Via Dolorosa ends in the Holy Sepulcher, where Jesus was said to have been crucified on the Calvary. The sepulchre was situated on a quarry used in the last centuries BC. In the 1st century AD, the Calvary was situated outside the city walls. Executions never took place inside the city. It was also common to dig tombs in old quarries. According to archaeologists, the site of the Calvary has had a ritual significance since the first half of the 1st century AD. The Romans built a temple to Aphrodite here. In 325, at the Council of Nicaea, Emperor Constantine the Great forced the creation of a single Christian doctrine. According to tradition, his mother Helen found the true cross in the old quarry soon after. As a result, the Bishop of Jerusalem asked permission to demolish the Aphrodite temple and to build a church. The new church became an enormous building, with a huge basilica, behind it an open courtyard with the Calvary, and behind that the domed rotunda with the tomb of Jesus. The building was completed in 336 AD. In the 7th century, the Muslims took Jerusalem, and were remarkably tolerant throughout the following centuries. Jews and Christians were allowed to practice their faiths. Omar, the caliph that conquered Jerusalem, even refused an offer to pray in the sepulchre to avoid creating a precedent. Instead, he prayed outside, on the site where later the Omar Mosque was built. Things started to go wrong in the early 11th century. The insane Sultan Hakim found the divine igniting of the holy flame to be such a farce that he ordered the demolition of the entire church. Reconstruction started soon after, but due to the lack of funds, the new church covered only a third of the old one. The start of the Crusades in the late 11th century were not directly caused by the Muslim conquest of Jerusalem or the destruction of the church, but rather by the Christian schism of 1054. Church leaders in Rome were unhappy with the Greek dominance in the Holy Land. During the Bloody Crusades, the Greeks were dealt with harshly. That formed the basis for an internal Christian struggle that lasts to this day. The Crusaders took over the reconstruction of the sepulchre. The building we see today is mostly their work. 88 years after the Crusader conquest of Jerusalem, Saladin retook the city for the Muslims.
Nadat Saladin Jeruzalem had ingenomen, was hij eigenlijk heel tolerant en stond hij toe dat de christenen gewoon hun kerk mochten houden. Wat hij wel deed, hij wilde de ingang kunnen controleren. En wat hij deed, van die deur achter me, was een deel van die deur dichtmetselen. Zodat hij de entree controleerde. Wat Saladin ook deed, hij werd helemaal gek van al die ruziemakende christenen. Hij nam de sleutel van de kerk in. Die gaf hij aan een islamitische familie. En die familie die maakte de kerk 's ochtends open en deed hem 's avonds weer dicht. En tot op de dag van vandaag is dat nog steeds dezelfde islamitische familie die sleutel heeft.
Anecdotes like these give the church such a fascinating character.
Maar vooral heel gaaf, omdat hier komt naar mijn idee het wereldlijke en het goddelijke samen in één gebouw. En het is ontzettend gaaf, omdat er eigenlijk van alles en nog wat aan de hand is.
It's very unusual that different Christian denominations manage a church together. But it's that cooperation that reveals the many worldly elements of this church.
Op het moment dat ze willen bouwen, moeten ze het daar dus allemaal mee eens zijn. Nou was er ooit een tijd dat de Syriërs bedachten, we gaan iets doen. En die zetten daar dat trappetje neer. Daar waren de anderen het niet mee eens en daar kregen ze enorme ruzie over. En ze werden het zelfs niet eens om dat trappetje weg te halen. En dat speelde in de jaren 1860. Dus die trap, die staat er al zo'n 150 jaar. Oké, we zijn nu op het dak van de Holy Sepulcher. En dat is ook een bijzondere plek. Zoals gezegd zijn de 6 stromingen, die runnen samen deze kerk. En die moeten dus ook samen voor dingen betalen. Op een bepaald moment weigerden de Ethiopiërs dat te doen, om mee te betalen. Vervolgens werden ze de kerk uitgekegeld door de andere stromingen en verbannen naar het dak.
But it gets worse. Schoolyard fistfights are not uncommon, like this one from 2008. Such fights lead to arrests, injuries, and even death. They can happen when, for example, Orthodox and Catholic Easter fall on the same day, requiring both groups to use the church, or when a priest puts his chair in another denomination's territory. 2 international treaties from the 19th century specified in detail which denominations could control which sections of the church. And still, things can go wrong. The worldliness also manifests itself in the messy architecture. Improvised reinforcements and renovation is everywhere. It also shows that each century had its own architectural challenges. The northern corridor counts 7 different types of pillars. The worldliness even touches the holy elements of the church. At the entrance lies the stone of the anointment, where Jesus' body lay after the crucifixion, and which is said to have healing powers. According to archaeologists, this stone emerged for the first time in the 12th century AD, and the current stone wasn't placed in the church until 1810, after the previous stone was destroyed in the fire of 1806. The competition between the various denominations becomes visible in the late afternoon when they simultaneously use the church for services. The priests sing as loud as possible in an attempt to outsing the other groups, which is a spectacle to witness. The Armenian football monks use their young and strong voices to try to outmaneuver the Catholics, who counter by setting in the organ. The spectacle reaches the summit during important holidays, such as Easter. Then the masses gather in Jerusalem, and the narrow streets of the old city are clogged with devout believers. In Jerusalem, heaven and earth meet. According to religious writers, the city is a reflection of the heavenly Jerusalem, and you could say the same of the Holy Sepulcher. The divine manifests itself in emotion, devotion, and inspiration, which makes a lasting impression on the secular witness.